Hi everyone, it's Ramon Santillan again with Persuasive Interview. Today I'm going to give you some tips on how to prepare for a job interview when you have autism. The name of this video is actually called I Have Autism, How Do I Prepare for the Interview? Through my work interview coaching guys with high functioning autism and aspergers, I found that they tend to get anxious about meeting new people. The best way I found to help calm those bouts of nervousness is by taking uncertainty and the unknown out of the equation as much as possible. Here are my tactics for preparing for the interview when you have autism. Tip number 1, research the person you're meeting. Aside from researching the job and the company, I take it a step further and make sure I research the people I'll be meeting with. Getting to know them before actually meeting them helps me feel like I know them, which can help with anxiety. Usually, they'll tell you who you will talk to once the interview has been scheduled. If they don't tell you, make sure to ask. Once you have the name or names, you start off by looking at LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a wealth of information regarding the people you'll be meeting during the interview. Whenever I'm coaching someone, the first thing I ask as soon as we have an interview lined up is the name of the people they'll be meeting. Second thing, I put that name straight into LinkedIn's search box and look them up. Here are several things you can keep an eye out while looking through their profile. How many years have they been at the current company? Where did they work before? Have they changed industries? Write down the answers to these questions and any other interesting info you find on their profile. I like to take notes and take them with me on the interview. I like to refer to them before I meet with someone as a quick refresher to keep my nervousness at bay. Another place where you can do a search is through Google. Have they been featured in any industry publications? Many times, hiring managers are involved in industry-related organizations that may be quoted by local and even national publications. Once we found an article on Wired magazine where the hiring manager was quoted on a story about millennials, her being one of them. The person I was coaching brought this up during the interview, which helped build rapport and consequently a job offer. How about any interesting articles you found about them? Believe it or not, these hiring managers have a life outside of work, and it just might be very similar to yours. Once while doing research with someone I was coaching named John, we found out that the hiring manager was a beekeeper in his free time and loved trail hiking. Turns out my client, John, also loves trail hiking. During this interview, John brought up the article about beekeeping that we found. Much to John's surprise, the hiring manager loved talking about his beekeeping hobby and talked the next 40 minutes about it. Not only that, John also brought up the mutual love for trail hiking, so they spent another 15 minutes talking about that. John knew he had the job when, as he was being walked out to the lobby after the interview, the hiring manager said, "I can't wait until you start working here so I can show you all the cool trails I do." Needless to say, John got the co-op offer, had it extended twice, and has since turned it into a full-time offer now that he graduates in May. Another tip that you should consider when preparing for an interview is research the questions you'll get asked. There are 2 ways to go about this. Get the book of interview questions from your library or Amazon. There are some excellent books out there that can help you with this. Another thing you can do is you want to get more specific with the questions you practice. Another option is to do a quick Google search for company name plus interview questions. This should pop up databases full of questions these particular companies ask during their interviews. You can get even more specific and search for company name plus name of position plus interview questions to get a list of the most reported interview questions asked for those positions. Go ahead and do it right now. You'll see that there's pages and pages of interview questions that are asked by that particular company that you can use as a reference. Okay, another thing you have to consider when you're preparing for an interview is research how to get there. Although most people quickly look at Google Maps the day before the interview to get an idea of where they'll be going, I take it a step further and research all the angles. Not only do I look up the address, but I make sure that I know the best route to get there, any alternative routes, the parking situation, as well as how traffic and construction may affect those plans. If I have time, I even like to do a dry run at least one day before to make sure my plans make sense and to see any surprises before they happen. The point of all of this is to make sure that you don't use valuable brain power on menial tasks like figuring out how to get there. Especially on the day of the interview, you don't want to be nervous. If you know how to get there, where to park, and which way the office is, you won't even have to think about it the day of. All you have to do is focus on the interview itself. And in conclusion, let me tell you a little bit more. When the going gets tough, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Consider this research your training for your interview. Being aware of what you can expect can help you control your nervousness, allowing you to focus on your interview and making a great impression. This level of preparation will set you apart from your competition and can lead to the job offer you are after. Thanks again for listening to this video. I'm looking forward to seeing you again at the next one.